Today I'm chatting with Aaliyah Glasgow from the Efficiency Project. She started this home organizing business with her sister Casey, and they're obsessed with styling homes and making the lives of their clients more efficient. They're based in Santa Barbara, California, and Aaliyah's here to chat all about Swedish death cleaning today. Welcome to the show, Aaliyah.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. We're talking about my favorite subject.
Yes, and something that I know zero about and I get questions about all the time. So I'm super excited to get educated today.
You probably know all of it. It's just the idea and the energy behind it is a little different than some of the other methods.
Yes, like the name of it and everything. I'm very curious. Like, why is it? Yeah. Anyway, it sounds very metal. I was talking to my fiance before we jumped on, and he's like, that sounds so metal. That's cool. I'm like, maybe it's
well,
the guy thing.
I am married to a punk rock drummer, so I do have a little bit of an edgy vibe.
I love it. Nice. Cool. Well, tell us about yourself and what caused you to get into this field.
So I was born and raised in Santa Barbara. I've lived here all my life, and my sister and I really just wanted to work together. She is an interior designer and I was an event planner, but I was also prior to being an event planner, I was a preschool teacher for 15 years. So I'm also, I worked with kids a lot. And so and I have 3 of my own children. So being really efficient and organized really helps with my lifestyle. So organization was something that my sister and I, it was pounded into us as children, and then we grew to be organized adults. So when we wanted to start a business together, we thought that organizing was a good marriage of her skills and my skills that we could market for this area. So we started the Efficiency Project in 2018, and it's just been growing like crazy ever since, and we love it.
Yeah. And what a great area to be doing this, Santa Barbara, California, nice metro area, high income earners, the perfect market.
We get to do so many different styles of houses in this area. We can do an apartment one day and then be on a billionaire ranch the next day. It's pretty fun.
So awesome. So how did you come up with the name, with the Efficiency Project? Tell us about the brand.
Oh, that's a funny story. Yeah, that's a funny story. So when Casey and I decided that we wanted to start a business together, we put something out on Facebook saying, okay, we're going to give a free pantry organization to anybody who helps us name our new side hustle. And we had some funny names come in. One was like the OCD sisters. One was, there was another one that was like organizing ninjas. Like there was just a whole bunch of really goofy names that our friends were throwing at us. But I really wanted something that spoke to the service so that people would see the title of the business name and know what we did. So I kept coming up with all of these ideas, and the word efficiency just kept popping up. And finally we landed on the Efficiency Project. So then I posted out to everybody that I won. I won, and I got to do the pantry cleaning at my own house.
I love it.
I named the Efficiency Project, and it stuck. We really like the name. I think it does speak to what we do. It's just really hard to spell the word efficiency. That's all right. We'll teach people along the way.
Yeah, we've had that in the past where people are like, oh my gosh, amazing name. But then when it comes to doing like the website, it's like people don't know how to get to the website. They don't know how to email you. They don't know how to find you on Instagram. Hopefully
every time I have to spell my business name, I'm like, okay, did I spell it right? Just second guessing myself.
I think it's like, it is really the perfect word though, right? Because it's more than just the organizing, putting stuff in a pretty bin and calling it a day. It's like, We're going to make your lives more efficient. So
the lifestyle change is the reason we do this. Like we're not here to just make pretty spaces. We're here to help people learn efficient lifestyle habits and actually streamline their life so that they can go live their life and not spend all day cleaning their house.
Yes, love that. So what type of clients do you love to serve then in that case?
I love working with people who have already kind of made that mental switch and they know that they want to live in a more efficient space because they're gung-ho. They're like ready to go. They're fired up. They're motivated, and they are the most fun to work with. So my dream client is really anybody who's ready to have more efficiency in their life.
And who isn't ready for that? But yeah, there's quite a few people that are
my
resistant.
least favorite clients are like when a wife hires me to work with her husband and her husband is like not wanting to do it, or vice versa. Those are my least favorite clients because they're not ready. They don't want to be involved. They don't want to get rid of things. And then it feels like you're pulling teeth the whole time. So those are not my favorite days when I have a client that doesn't want to be efficient.
Those are hard. Those are very hard. I remember like one of the very, very few times I've ever walked out on a job was I was in the middle of what looked to be like an unraveling marriage and, you know, soon to be divorced. And I just felt like I was so that ping pong ball just getting bounced around.
Stuck in the middle.
On.
Yeah.
No fun.
I don't want to be stuck in the middle of any relationship issues. Thank you very much.
Yes. Nobody gets paid enough.
No. And I tell people all the time, like there is some amount of emotion and, I have to be compassionate and empathetic when you're dealing with people's personal belongings, but I am not a therapist. I'm not trying to be a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist.
Yeah, I know. We all need like clinical training if we're going to get into that territory for sure. So let's talk about all things Swedish death cleaning. So I do a bunch of keynote speeches and virtual workshops and stuff like that across the US. And I get asked all the time, well, how is Swedish death cleaning different from, the Marie Kondo KonMari method or different from the minimalist movement? So tell us a little bit about this.
So Swedish death cleaning is not as morbid as it sounds. It comes off as sounding like, you're going to clean your house or you're going to die. Like, no. So the idea of it is in Sweden, you're unburdening, they have this idea of Swedish death cleaning that in Sweden, you unburden yourself from all of your excess belongings when you get over a certain age so that your adult children don't have to deal with all of your stuff after you pass. And I grew up with a grandmother who would always say something like, well, you can't take it with you when you go. So she was not hoarding money or hoarding objects or hoarding material possessions because she was very, very free with giving things away or taking the family on a trip or doing things like that because she's like, well, got to spend it while you're living, can't take it with you when you go. So I kind of already grew up with that mentality of use it or lose it. And that is what speaks to me most about Swedish death cleaning is the unburdening of your whole house so that you are free from the extra excess that bogs you down and that you're not leaving a mess for anybody else to deal with after you're gone.
Gosh, that's so.
But I don't think you have to be over a certain age for Swedish death cleaning. I think anybody can unburden themselves from their clutter anytime in their life. And it just feels really, that's the quickest way to feel like you lost 10 pounds, seriously.
I know. I always, on organizing jobs, I'd always have the clients try to like hold the bags of clothes from the closet or hold the boxes from the garage or whatever, and just like feel that
that weight.
Yeah, it's
like
impactful. Well, my dad is in his 70s and he just retired, and he's my why. If for those of you listening, you've heard my story about why I started Let's Get You Organized 10 years ago, and because my dad's a hoarder and I grew up, in a hoarding household. He is still a hoarder, happy to say, and he's entering this next phase of his life. So he just entered retirement, and I am like, I just like stay up every night and I'll text my brother. We'll both get like waves of anxiety about like, what are we going to do? He has 3 different properties. We're like, what are we going to do with all of this stuff? And so we like fantasize about bringing in a junk removal company or something like that. But oh my gosh, I wish more people knew about this because it's like it's an act of like selflessness, right? Like, why would you want to burden your children? Why would I want
absolutely
all of this?
Absolutely. So I think what really sparked me with the efficiency project to add this as a packaged service on our website was my father-in-law passed away in the February before COVID hit, and he was a bit of a hoarder and their home is very cluttered, but they were okay with it. It wasn't something that bothered them. But after my father-in-law passed, the burden of dealing with all of his stuff fell on my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is a very private person and she doesn't really want my help, even though she knows what I do for a living. And I've offered, but she hasn't taken me on the bait yet. But anyway, I just seeing how stressful it is for her to make decisions based around his stuff. And then I do think that there was a bit of anger on her part about how much stuff left for her to deal with. So I come to it from this energy of like wanting to help people with that process. A lot of our clients, we do get hired after the loss of a family member, and we have to come in after. So what I really like about the philosophy of Swedish death cleaning is you deal with it before somebody is gone instead of after. And then it really, really, really helps detach that sentimental attachment to objects if you deal with it first before the person passes. It's harder to let go of things after a person passes if you associate it with them.
Yes, exactly. Because you get all the sentimentality of it, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
this was their briefcase, or this was
Right.
their, photo album that's falling apart, and you can keep the pictures, but they want to keep the whole thing, things like that. It reminds me of like certain organizers that I know that do specifically like estate sales and estate planning, and they collaborate with like companies that do trusts and wills and things like that. But it really is emotional, right? Because A, nobody wants to think about their own mortality, and B, it sounds scary to like have to go and like create your will and create your trust,
right?
And, all this stuff, which by the way, for the record, my dad has not done. And I asked him that the other day. I'm like, Dad, do you have a trust? Do you have a will? Do you have... No, I've never done these things. He's very foreign.
So hard. It's so hard. I mean, even just like knowing, here's a funny story. My mother-in-law was cleaning out one of the guest bedrooms after my father-in-law passed, and she found a shoebox full of cash. So she was on this mode of like getting rid of stuff, and she was just like throwing things away, and she was finally like getting stuff done, and she was so happy about it. And then she found a shoebox, an old shoebox full of cash. And I can tell you right now that slowed down the purging process, because she was like, oh shit, now I have to open every box. I have to look in every single box because there might be cash in it.
Oh my
And it was
God.
not a little bit of cash. It was a lot of cash. So
oh my gosh. It's
you got to be careful sometimes. But, honestly, I think that the people who are hiring my company to do Swedish death cleaning, they're not worried about their demise. They're not worried about the end of their life or like leaving the stuff for somebody else. They're just wanting to tackle every single part of their home and finally unburden themselves from everything and move forward with their lives. They don't want to leave anything unturned. So when they're ready to do that and make those changes, and I think that's what does relate to some of the other methods like, Marie Kondo or just minimalism in general, it's because you actually apply it to every single part of your home. So the Swedish death cleaning is you really are going through everything. We do it in two different ways at the Efficiency Project. We have a 1 week package where we really dive deep. Me and my whole team, I have an on-call team of 8 assistant organizers, 4 of them are full-time. And so it's normally about 4 or 5 of us that go on one project. And then we spend a full 5 days, Monday through Friday, really overturning every part of a single family home. So we try to limit it to 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room or a family room, and then all of the closets and drawers that are associated with all of those areas. And we can normally tackle a whole, single family home in 1 week. But then we have other clients who need to space it out either for financial reasons or time reasons. And then we can do like a chunk a month where we'll come for a day a month and we'll draw it out over the course of 5 months. But if we start in the master bedroom on Monday, by Friday, we're done with the whole house. We do not include garages with that one just because that's too much. A whole house and a whole garage in a week is ridiculous.
That's a week in and of itself for a garage.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's the commonality with the other methods, is just the fact that you apply the methods that we teach and the efficient habits that we teach to every single part of the house. We still call them junk drawers, but by the end, it's not a junk drawer. There's not junk. Everything has a place and everything's put in its place.
I love it. Do you start with like a strategy behind where you're going in the home? Like, do you come up with like a roadmap for yourself and your team? Start with non-emotional areas? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great question. That's the part that we will customize per client. And then I will consult with the family that I'm working with prior to our project date. And then I will create a roadmap for my team. But honestly, it's different for each client because sometimes it's like, okay, this is the emotional part. Let's build you up to that. Your whatever it is, let's say it's the kitchen's going to be the most emotional part because they have like, grandma's china in it or something. If the kitchen's going to be the hardest part for them to purge things, sometimes depending on their personality, it's the band-aid you want to rip off first. Let's get it done. That's the scariest thing for you. Let's do that first. But sometimes it's like, okay, we have to earn your trust. We need to get you ready to be able to get rid of all of those things. So we're going to start in an easy, neutral area first and build our way to the harder spots. So that's the part that I have to play therapist a little bit and figure out what is the best strategy for each particular client.
Yeah, it really is like a customized solution. And, you have to have a lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of self-awareness, a lot of being able to read other people. We joke that we're not therapists or, clinically certified psychologists or whatever, right?
But it does take the right type of person for us. Totally, 100%. Yeah. And I'm a blunt person. I speak very, which I think actually makes me a good organizer because I can, without judgment and with compassion, I can tell somebody that they need to get rid of something without putting them in a defensive state. But I am clear and honest and can come across as like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just told me that. But that's my job. That's why you hired me.
I love that. That's my style too, where I'm definitely no BS, non-sugar coated. And I try to, we were chatting before we hit record today about like, making that messaging come through in your marketing and your branding of like, they need to know who they're getting, right? Because
yes.
You're the product and your team is the product. Yeah.
Yes. And it would be, how scary would it be for somebody if they're expecting like Marie Kondo to show up and she's so sweet and quiet and, kind. And I show up and I'm like, why the fuck do you have 200 ramekins? Like that's going to be shocking to somebody. So they need to know who they're working with as well and make sure that the relationship's compatible. Because I have a funny story about, I was working with one client, an older gentleman, and his wife had convinced him that he needed to work with me. And he was ready. He was in the process. He was in the mode. And I was asking him if we could, I can't even remember what I was asking him. I was asking him if we could like limit his sock drawer to one drawer. And then I was asking him some other personal question just about life, like just having conversation. And he was like, Aaliyah, I cannot talk to you right now. You're playing with my underwear. I'm like, oh, right. Because I'm so used to playing in other people's underwear drawers that I forget that might be intimidating for them.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. He's like, please hold.
Yeah. Can we have that conversation when you're not holding my underwear in your hands? Thanks. But you work really intimately with people. So you have to have a relationship and you have to make sure that you're compatible. Like I might not be the best organizer for everybody, but in Santa Barbara, I've got a good group of clients who really appreciate my strategy.
Yeah. And you'll attract the clients that are meant to come to you, and you'll repel the clients that you're not meant for, because there's plenty of other organizers that go to.
And there's plenty of work for all of us.
Exactly. Well, really quick too, on the note of, the branding, the marketing, building up your staff, that's amazing that you have 4 full-time organizers and then 4 others kind of in and out to make it a team of 8. How did you get there? Like, obviously you're doing something right if you have all of these, hands in the pot, so to speak. How did you get there? Like, what did that hiring process look like?
Well, what was really cool is, so I live in a little beach town called Carpinteria, which is just a few miles south of Santa Barbara. And it's a really tight-knit community. And I had a couple other mom friends who just happened to be looking for work around the same time. And I was using them on call, just like, hey, can you come help me with this job? And they were like, oh, well, I'm not that organized. I don't think I can help you. And I said, look, you don't have to be organized. You just have to follow directions. If you can do what I ask you to do, I'm the one who will use all the brain power. You just have to do the things. And anyway, so they started with me in 2019, a couple of my mom friends, and they have just developed these really strong skills over the years. And so they were the first ones I offered the full-time positions to. So then from there, I think the main part of what I really work hard at doing is creating ongoing relationships with clients so that I do have repeat clients so that I can try to create enough work for everybody on my team. I do still call them on-call part-time employees, because some weeks we might have 4 different projects going. And then the next week we might have just one team project. And then the next week we might not have any projects, depending on, like, you know, for example, these last couple of weeks have been kind of wonky because different schools are on different spring breaks. So it does ebb and flow. It's not like I'm jam-packed, you know, every week, but it's enough to keep the 4 employees that I have busy enough.
Yeah, and I think what you said there is so key with getting repeat business. You know, it's a lot cheaper to try to go out and get clients you've already had before, because they already know you, they like you, they trust you, they've left you a great review, you've sent them a thank you note, right, or maybe a small gift after their first session, and they're like, oh, exactly, when can you come back to do all these other areas? That's the best, because you're no longer paying for lead generation. You're no longer having to go out and acquire more and more.
And I like having the repeat clients too, because I build a stronger relationship with those families, and I get to know, like, you know, I get to know the nuances of their family lifestyle, where I can be like, oh, you know, when I first met you, I suggested that we do your entryway drop zone here. And now your kids have gotten older, they're doing sports, and now you're entering through the garage more than the front door. Like, maybe it makes more sense for you to have a mud room here. So I can help readjust their systems the better I get to know them. And so if I have ongoing relationships with them, that just makes the organization in their house that much stronger.
Yeah, you get to know the ins and the outs of how their family runs and their preferences.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I will say that building my business has been equal parts manifestation and really hard work. I definitely, in 2018, when I was envisioning what I wanted for this side hustle to grow into, my first vision for it was just that it could be my full-time job and I wouldn't have to do any other side jobs. And that happened after a good year of, you know, promoting myself. So in 2020, I was full-time doing this, you know, without any other side hustles. And then my next set of goals was to have a team and be able to divide and conquer and have multiple projects going on at a time, or for my family to be able to go on vacation, but have strong organizers that could, you know, work projects while I was out of town. So I was still making a residual income even when I wasn't physically there. And then that started happening during COVID, which was interesting, because then I was scared and I was very much like, oh no, we have a trip planned and there's a project going, and how am I going to manage that project if I'm not there? And my husband was the one who had to be like, isn't that what you wanted? Isn't that what you were like saying you wanted, was to have a team that you could make residual income off of when you weren't in town? And I was like, oh shit, like, it's happening. That thing that I said that I wanted, that I worked towards, is happening. And so I had to just go with it at that point. And now it's the norm. I have my other lead organizers who can go to jobs all over town and I don't have to even be there. It's kind of amazing, actually.
That's the best. Like, duplicate yourself and clone yourself, and you trust your people, and they're like, that's when you know the machine is working.
Yeah. And it's funny though, just the getting there process of saying what you want, working towards what you want, and then it happens, and then you're like, oh no, what did I do? And then I was like, wait, no, this is what I wanted. And it is working. It was just scary in the beginning.
Yeah, you built a monster, but a good monster, not a scary monster. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And for our listeners, you guys can find Aaliyah and check out her awesome team and project portfolio over on Instagram at The Efficiency Project SB. So SB, like S is in
Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Santa Barbara. There you go.
Yeah.
On Instagram. And then her website is theefficiencyproject.net. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been fun chatting with you.
Yay.